Experiencing homelessness is an obstacle that nobody should be exposed to. Yet, in the United States today, there are more than 500,000 people that do not have a roof over their head. Within the homeless population, there are vulnerable groups that suffer the most. The average life expectancy for a homeless individual is just 50 years. 39% of the homeless population in America is African American, 61% are men and boys, and approximately 38% have a disability. This is Marcus Colasso, a previous victim of homelessness.
Well, there was actually two stints of my life right after I turned 11 and kind of around when I was around 6 or 7 years old over that period of time. And I would say it affected me in terms of probably determining what I value and what I don't. I know that there's a lot of times where there's certain things that maybe people complain about, whether it's like we're out to eat or if it's food, and it's just a lot of things that a lot of people really care about and they really stress about and really get annoyed with, that me, I just don't even trip about it, because I know that I've been in situations where, like, listen, there were times where I didn't really have this stuff, so I appreciate it a lot more. I appreciate the little things just a lot more. So I think in terms of the overall effect it had, I definitely think that appreciating the small things is definitely more of what I probably do now in the aftermath of having those two stints of not having a home throughout my life, for sure.
Many of you will have this image of a single man, single woman sleeping on the side of a building in the city's core. That might fit the typical definition, but being homeless is much broader. If I live at a shelter, I am homeless. I don't have my key to my own unit. As you can see by the graph behind me, the shelter use is worrisome as we keep doing the same thing over and over, and our costs keep increasing of an outdated model. Ottawa is a well-off city. We have low unemployment rate, good support services. The average household income is quite high, and we rank in the world's top cities for our quality of life. Yet some are poor, and the way we plan to help them is by putting them in temporary shelters and motels.
Among homeless women, 60% of them have children under 18, but only 65% of these women have their children with them.
Well, being that I was a child for both of them, I know that there was definitely things like, public transportation. Definitely, I had to be able to get around because I still was in school at the time. I never stopped going to school, and I had great attendance and everything. We still just always found a way to make sure we get to school. And to me, that was the number one resource that basically helped us overcome, because at the end of the day, when you're a child, that's like the only responsibility you have, is like to do well in school.
Every year, roughly 13,000 homeless people die in the U.S.
Well, being the fact that we've always been city kids and we've been a city-oriented family throughout probably 98% of my life, we're obviously going to see our fair share of being surrounded by drugs and violence and other people that are in our circumstance. Not necessarily the cleanest, most safest environments to be around health-wise. So it definitely was a challenge to have to endure all of those things, especially at such a young age, both times, 6 and 7 or 11 or 12. It didn't really matter how old we were, because at the end of the day, this is what we're seeing. This is our reality every day. You know, you wake up and you're surrounded by drugs and violence and so many other forms of, you know, unsafe and unhealthy, unsanitary surroundings, whatever the case may be, as children. And yeah, that's probably like, you know, basic, you know, urban inner city stuff that is basically common. That's probably what we endured in the most in terms of that experience over that time, for sure.
15% of the homeless population in America are within the ages 51 to 61. 3.2% are 62 and older.
Sorry to bother you. By any chance, do you have $1 so I can catch the train? I'm trying to get back home to Canada.
I got the 10.
Can I give you $5 back for the 10?
No. I need to eat. I don't get paid till tomorrow night.
Can I get $2 if I give you $8 back? I just need, I think, $1.50 to catch the train. I'm a little less than $2 short.
We can do that.
Thank you. Thank you. So actually, instead of giving you $8, I wanted to give you $500.
No, it just blew. Yeah.
Can I give you a hug by any chance?
Yeah, damn.
Can I ask why you were going to give me a couple dollars?
Because you said you needed it. You needed help.
Many of us think that putting more money will solve homelessness. I challenge that assumption by saying that new money on old models will replicate the same challenges. It's like building more lanes for roads and highways when there's congestions. We know it doesn't work, yet we keep doing the same thing over and over.
News outlet reports the increase of homelessness in LA County during the pandemic. The report demonstrates the seriousness of the crisis.
The homeless population in the county is up 13% from last year, as the city of LA saw a 14% jump. NBC4's John Caddy's Klimek has been covering Southern California's streets of shame and exposes where the mistakes have been made.
The homeless count may represent a single moment in time for the population on LA's streets of shame, but the increase year to year has many questioning why it keeps rising.
No surprise at all, but we are challenged anew.
LA County Supervisor Mark Ridley Thomas, who also co-chairs the governor's statewide homeless task force, admits government leaders made a mistake.
We thought it should be single focused on affordable housing. That, in my judgment, was a mistake. We have to do both.
Ridley Thomas says cost estimates were way off for permanent housing and that more temporary shelters are needed to get people off the street and transition into something more permanent.
We need to have shelters. Why? Because they can be built more cheaply, they can be built more quickly, and what we need is to get people off of the street.
Outside LA City Hall, the fight is for rent stabilization and using taxpayer funds to instead work with buildings already built.
So that could be adaptive reuse, that's where you rehab existing structures, that could be converting motels.
Using hotels has been key to the state's Project Room Key during the COVID-19 outbreak, but at some point those rooms will be released.
What happens when those hotels say they want their rooms back? Are we going to see an influx of people back on the street?
Our goal is that nobody who is in room key right now goes back to the street.
Heidi Marston, the new executive director for LAHSA, the LA Housing Authority, which conducts the annual homeless count, says she's worried what the pandemic will do to future homeless numbers.
We're already seeing high numbers of people falling in, and so we need to really ramp up our safety nets to make sure that we can keep folks housed coming out of COVID-19.
The biggest increase in homeless numbers comes from seniors experiencing homelessness, also a double-digit increase in families. But a silver lining LAHSA is highlighting is that the majority of those who do get off the street stay off the street.
Almost 90% have it.
Over 70% are young adults below the age of 50. The causes of homelessness are diverse and related to many systemic and institutional structures within our system. Recognizing that homelessness has many intersecting causes and that data and quality of this data is limited. In Philadelphia, some of the causes of homelessness include lack of jobs at competitive living wages, disparities between housing costs and minimum wage, public support, or earned benefits, lack of affordable housing and an adequate housing assistance, lack of health insurance, inadequate support of mental health and substance use challenges, racial inequalities, national opioid crisis, domestic violence, systemic oppression, and immigration status.
Patience. Patience has definitely, and just letting the people who are more capable of being in control of it figure it out. You know, obviously I was 6, 7, and 11 and 12 or whatever the case may be. So I was limited as to how I could contribute and how much I could do for my parents and my siblings and things like that. It was limited amount of things that I could really do at such young ages. But I think just sticking it out, giving people space whenever they need it. Obviously, we're all in this together. We needed to all basically feel all those emotions that come with that together, but we also have to all feel it differently individually, so we have to give each other that kind of space. But in terms of what made me overcome it, I definitely think taking my backseat, doing whatever I was able to do to contribute to my parents and for my siblings, whatever the case may be. I think just allowing myself to be patient and letting the people that are more in control of the situation figure it out, and just helping whenever I needed to. I think that was definitely probably the key to us overcoming it as a unit and myself personally.
Philadelphia has a 23% poverty rate, one of the highest in the nation. Of that, 26% are living in deep poverty, with incomes below 50% of the federal poverty line. COVID-19 has caused sudden and severe damage to Philadelphia's economy in 2020. The city's average unemployment rate was 12.2% in 2020, 4% higher than the national average of 8%. In Philadelphia, a person would have to work 86 hours per week at a minimum hourly rate of $7.25 to afford even the modest one-bedroom apartment. Pennsylvania Supplement Security income payment is only $805 per month, while the average fair market rent for a one-bedroom apartment is $811 per month. Small contributions like participating in a clothing drive, volunteer work, small donations, and even helping out someone on the street with a small meal could really make a difference in this crisis. If you or someone you love is experiencing homelessness, reach out to 1-877-48-VET or visit www.samhsa.gov.